everyone, it's Brenton here again in the kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make New England clam chowder. So we're going to get started with the ingredients as always. I have 6 strips of bacon here that I'm going to cut up with some cooking scissors. I have some clam juice and 3 6.5 ounce cans of minced clams. And I should mention while I'm here, I have some oyster crackers and sourdough bread that's going to go on the side at the end. Let's see, so I also have some baby red potatoes. I just picked these up at Trader Joe's. It's 1.5 pounds. I'm gonna put in 1 white onion, some celery, 2 large carrots. I have some butter, half and half. If you don't have half and half, you can substitute whole milk, or if you have cream, you can use that. Use some all-purpose flour. In terms of the herbs, we have thyme, fresh oregano. We use some dried bay leaves, and for our spices we're going to use black pepper and Old Bay seasoning. And we're going to be cooking this in a large Dutch oven, and on the side I'm going to make a roux with the flour and the half and half, so I need a small saucepan. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so the first step is we're going to use a large Dutch oven, and we take the 6 pieces of bacon and we cut them up into pieces rather small using the scissors. And we're just going to set that on the stove and turn it on to a medium heat. Okay, so we have the bacon on the stove now, and we're going to give it a few minutes. And what we're doing here is we're just cooking out the grease. We want to use the grease for the chowder. So I'm just going to let it cook out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so in the meantime, while the bacon was cooking and I was getting the bacon grease into the Dutch oven, I cut up the onion, carrots, and celery. So now that the bacon has cooked, I'm just going to take it out and set it aside. And once I do that, I'm just going to dump in the vegetables, and they're going to cook in the bacon grease for about 10-15 minutes. And I should make it clear that we're going to keep this bacon for later. We're going to add it back in at the very end. So you just have to set it to the side. Okay, here we go. So we're just going to have the veggies in the Dutch oven, and we're just going to let it cook, again at about medium heat, for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so while the veggies are cooking, there's a few other prep steps that I need to do. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the canned clams and I'm just straining them out into a pot because I want to keep that juice. And so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to keep the juice in the pot. And I should also mention I have 2 different types of clam juice over here, just 2 different brands. There's Snow's, there's Bar Harbor, which is from Maine. I like this one a little bit better, but I just wanted to show you the 2. So I'm going to use 2 8-ounce cans of clam juice. And one other thing, in the background here I have the red potatoes. I'm just going to cut them up. They're small to begin with, but I just want to make them a little bit smaller. I'm going to leave the skin on. So now that the veggies have been cooking a while and they softened up and the flavor has been released from the onions, I'm going to add in that juice I collected from the canned clams. In addition, I'm going to add those 2 jars of clam juice, so 16 ounces total. Okay, and I want to use some oregano and fresh thyme at this point. So I'm just going to mix that in. And we're just going to let that cook for a while. We just want the flavor to be released from the herbs. And as I mentioned, I'm going to prep the potatoes, and I'll get the roux going over here in the saucepan. So I'll be right back. Okay, now that it's been about 10 minutes, I'm going to add a few more things. I forgot to add the bay leaves a little bit earlier, so I'm going to add those in now. So I'm going to add 2 bay leaves. I'm going to season it with Old Bay seasoning. So shout out to my friends in Maryland. Put some of that in. I'll mix that up. And I cut up those small red potatoes. So I'm going to add those in, and I left the skin on. And I'm going to mix that in. And we're going to let it cook at a simmer for about 15 minutes. And hopefully you would have noticed earlier I did not put the clams in with the clam juice. So just to make it clear, you first want to put the clam juice in, and then later on, toward the end, you're going to add the clams in when you add the cream or the half and half. And so on the side over here, I'm going to get started in a minute. I'm going to get the roux started. So I have 2 tablespoons of butter in this saucepan. Okay, now that it's been 15 minutes with the potatoes at a simmer, I'm going to add in the half and half. So this is 2 cups, and I added a little bit of flour into it. In addition, I'm going to add the clams now. And I have the butter going over here in the saucepan. So I'm just going to give this a quick stir in the Dutch oven to get the clams and the cream mixed in. And simultaneously, I have the butter at a low-medium heat, and I'm going to add a little bit of flour in. So it's about 1/4 cup. I'm just going to mix that up. And in a moment, I'm going to add some cream in here to thicken it up, so about 1/2 cup of cream. So I'll check back in with you when the roux is ready. Okay, so it's been about a minute. I have the roux thickened up over here. The chowder is at a simmer. And so all I did was I added about 1/2 cup of half and half, and I used this whisk to mix it up. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this wooden spoon to gradually mix it into the chowder to thicken up the chowder. So that's how the chowder, that's one way to thicken up the chowder, is you get the mix of the cream and the all-purpose flour. So I'm going to gradually mix that in over the next few minutes, and I'm going to keep the chowder at a simmer. And after about 5 minutes, what I'm going to do is I am going to turn the heat off and put the lid on the Dutch oven. And importantly, I'm going to let it sit for quite a while to thicken up the chowder. So the combination of adding the flour via the roux and the cooling to let it set for a couple of hours is really going to make the chowder really thick and rich. Okay, I'll check back in with you when it's done. So one last thing I'll show you as this cools, I'm going to add the bacon back in that I used in the very beginning. I'm just going to add that back in. And once it's entirely set, what I'll do is I'll crack some of this black pepper right on top. You can also add salt. I use the Old Bay seasoning because I like that a bit better. But yeah, feel free to add salt, parsley, and I'll show you the final dish with some of the crackers and bread. Okay, it's been a few hours. The chowder has thickened up as it cooled. I added some oyster crackers here with black pepper, and likewise added some sourdough bread here if you prefer this San Francisco style. I hope you guys like it. I think this turned out pretty good. Please comment, let me know what you think. And I should say I apologize to my native New Englanders for using the canned clams, but I think this turned out pretty good, all things considered. So hope you guys enjoy.